You've heard the expression, we come down here to learn. This is a very popular expression, and today I'd like to flip it on its head and look at it from a completely different point of view, in the hopes that when we do that, it will expand the possibilities for you, give you a bigger overview of your spiritual path, and as a result, deeper and more meaningful experiences.
This is your moment. This is your moment in time. This is your moment.
I want to thank you for coming along with me on this journey. I want you to make sure to click subscribe and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when more of these videos come out, and you and I together, we can keep exploring these possibilities. Now, let's jump in. Okay, when it comes to the purpose of coming down here, we don't come down here to learn. To say that we come down here to learn would be to say that our higher self doesn't know anything. Now, stick with me. I'll explain how this all comes together. Why do we come down here then? We come down here for experiences, particularly for experiences that we can have on linear time. Now, let's start with that. We are in linear time. When our spirit, our soul, comes into the human body anchors it into linear time. It anchors it into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And by doing so, we can have unique experiences that we can't have on the other side, because on the other side, we are not linked in to linear time. Our higher self on the other side is an absolute beautiful being that's connected through everything by unconditional love, but it doesn't function on linear time like we do here. In essence, think of your higher self as a ball of light. Okay. And you take a chunk of that light out and you throw it down into a human body. And then that body runs around Earth and has a life on linear time. It has X number of years, starts during this year, comes back this year, coming back, meaning passes away. That spirit, piece of spirit soul, comes right on back to the higher self and reunites. If we went with the theory that we're down here to learn something, then our higher self that's on the other side, not in linear time, our higher self that knows everything that's going to happen in this lifetime from the beginning of it to the end of it, would learn something. You don't learn anything if you know everything that's going to happen. So put yourself in the perspective of your higher self. Okay, you are on the other side. You are all of you, like the entirety of you. You are not on linear time. And you decide, okay, I'm going to take a piece of the higher self and I'm going to send it down to Earth, and it's going to have a life. Because you are not on linear time, when you do that and you have the overview, you already in an instant know everything that was going to happen throughout that lifetime. It happens almost in an instant. Okay. So then why do this? Why do this? Well, if your higher self is on the other side, all right, it has personality, it has feelings and emotions, but not feelings and emotions that are only experienced on linear time. Let me step into that for a minute. There are a particular set of emotions that are created from raw emotion that can only be created on linear time. Meaning, you can only have surprise when you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can only have fear when you have weeks and months to wait for the unknown. You can only have anticipation if you are on linear time. So, from the perspective of our higher self, which is what we were originally saying was, quote, learning, if our higher self is not on linear time, then when we take a piece of the higher self, throw it down into linear time, that lifetime happens in an instant for the higher self. So again, why? Well, this is what we do. We take a piece of the higher self, we throw it down to earth, we don't throw it, we toss it, we gently place it into a body down on earth. It has a lifetime and it comes back. What do you bring back to your higher self, if not learning? Because the higher self doesn't need to learn. It already knew everything that was happening in that lifetime. What do you bring back? You bring back experiences. And in particular, you bring back experiences that you cannot have unless you're on linear time. So on the other side, you can feel passion and love and connectedness to certain things, but it's not until you actually experience what it's like to wedge yourself into linear time and hold yourself there, unable to see everything coming up, that you can experience the emotions that require linear time. You experience them, you bring them on back, and that, in essence, is what we are bringing back to our higher self. Now, with that said, do we learn along the way? Yes, we absolutely do. But here's the thing, we're looking at learning on such a limited perspective. We're looking at it, within this framework of our human existence. The act of learning, the act of growing, the act of having this much compassion today, but you go through something and now you have 10 times the compassion you ever had before. And now you experience connectedness with the people in your life in a different way. That can only happen on linear time. So it's that aspect of learning. So we could, in a way, kind of sideways, say, we come down to learn, but I want to put the words experience what it's like to learn in front of the word learn. We come down to experience what it's like to learn. We come down to experience what it's like to lose something, to gain something, to hope for something, to wait for something. And one of my favorite analogies of this, for this, would be on the other side. Let's say the soul, the higher self, the whole higher self, let's say has a very connected passion to plants. Okay, we'll just do a generic example here. Let's say, foliage, leaves, plants, earth, possibly even multiple planets, how the terrain is, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe there's a passion for that. Maybe there's something connected there. Maybe all the lives that go down are somehow connected to that, because at the core of the higher self, they hold a passion for the growth of this terrain and plant material. It's not until that higher self who loves, we'll just say it this way, who loves gardening, okay? The actual love of gardening and being able to experience it is done by taking a piece of the higher self, putting that spirit into the body, having the body be in linear time. Then on linear time, you can plant the seeds, you can tend the seeds, you can grow the plants, you can harvest the plants. It's all of the experiences that happen through that process and the emotions connected to them that your higher self wants to have. Does your higher self need to learn how to grow a tomato plant? No, it doesn't. That's kind of not how it works. Your higher self wants to know what it's like to need to learn how to grow a tomato plant. So what we're doing is we're taking this concept of we come down here to learn, and we're kind of putting that away. And we're looking at it on a deeper level. What's the reason why we come down here? We come down here to have experiences. Then people say, well, why would we come down here to have these negative experiences? How many times have you heard people say that? It's so common. Every walk, religion, culture has a moment where someone says, why the negative? Why are we experiencing the negative? Because in linear time, you can't experience or equate something of a high scale magnitude, powerful, beautiful, amazing thing without the reflection of it, which is the difficult, devastating, destroying thing. Even if you don't experience something that is really, really heavy and painful, at least being here on this earth, you're aware of that possibility because it unfortunately has happened for someone, but you can contrast it to the positive without negative experiences, without the heavy, without the dark that is here in this, experience of earth. You can't have the bliss. You take away that comparison, you take away that scale, and you're left with numb. You're left with numb. So we also have to understand that when we're in this body, when we're here on earth, we aren't aware of everything that's going to happen in this lifetime. We put blinders on specifically to be able to put ourselves into this linear time, to have these experiences, to have these unique emotions so that our higher self can experience that. I heard a really great reference once to this, and it just works for me. If you're a Star Trek fan, okay, and you know what the holodeck is, this is a really good example of it. And if you don't, look it up. It's a fantastic piece of Star Trek. I love it. But in essence, what it is it's a person going into a holodeck where there is an artificial world created, and they go into that world. Star Trek in the future, right? Perhaps they go back into the, days of the cowboys, Roman and cows and cattle and all that. And they go back in history and they set up the whole scenario. They set up the lifetime and they go in there and they experience it as if they're in that time. That's kind of what a life is like here. Before going into that holodeck, they know the whole program. They understand what's going to happen. But it's not until you put those blinders on, it's not until you wedge yourself, like I said, in linear time, that you're able to experience emotions as a result of linear time. Those emotions you can bring back to the higher self. So before I go, I want to jump back to the new soul, old soul. Okay. And I also want to kind of wrap that one into what we're talking about today. Old soul, new soul. That puts the whole thing on linear time, which you can lay that out. Here as the person, if I look at another life, and I'm going to take the word past out of past lives and change it with another. If I look at another one of my lives, yeah, it could be from 200 years ago. Absolutely. And on this linear timeline, that makes sense to me. I had a life, and then I had a life, and I had a life, and then I had a life, and they line on up on the timeline. But here's the thing. If our higher self on the other side is not on linear time, and it decides it wants to go down and have a bunch of experiences, and that one lifetime is instant for the higher self, that means that our lives are not linear. Our lives are not based on one after another after another. You don't have to wait until passing to have another life. Go back to that concept of the higher self, big ball of light. Take one piece out, send it down, it has a life. Take another piece out, send it down, it has a life. These are all happening instantaneously for ourselves, our higher self on the other side. So there's no reason why they need to line up specifically, only one life at a time, pass away, go into the next life, pass away, go into the next life. While that's a fantastic description of how we can have multiple lives, I would invite you to open up to the concept that you can have more than one life at a time. And for your higher self, they're all happening at once. So we can dive deep into that another day. But for now, what I want to leave you with is that we're not here to learn. Again, that would be saying that our higher self doesn't know anything. It's up there going, I don't know what it's like to really love someone. It knows everything that's going to happen to us. It knows everything that did happen to us. And it's coming down here to be able to have the experiences that you can only have on this timeline. With that said, all of those experiences being brought back up into the higher self, it's an absolutely beautiful thing. Think of it moving forward on being able to create more. All of our higher selves, every single person that's ever been here on earth, every person that will be here on earth, all of those higher selves came together to create earth through the connected energy that many do call God. Okay, that connected energy that runs through everything in all of us, that unconditional loving source, whatever the term is for you. We all came together to create this experience, this planet, this lifetime. So all of the experiences that we're able to have here in this particular type of time, we're able to bring back and use for more creation. So keep that in mind. Next time you think in terms of past lives, stop and think, maybe this life is happening right now. Does that mean you can't do past life regressions? No, past life regressions absolutely do help, and they're absolutely wonderful. But in essence, it's not going back in time. It's going and connecting to another life that's happening right now. So enjoy your experiences. Some of them aren't going to be great. I get it. Some of them aren't going to be fantastic, but enjoy them while you can. Like, just eat them up like they're candy. Just know that you're here in this unique experience. And those moments of just explosive love or excitement or anticipation, just know that that's something you can have here. And I hope by understanding that, you can really appreciate your spiritual path on a deeper level and appreciate the power and the joy that comes from having experiences, because really that's what it's about.
This is your moment.